Okay, people have said, some people, not many, it's like, why, Pete? Why are you imitating foods of, flesh, decomposed animals? They don't put it like that. They have nice names like sausage and beef burgers and etc. etc. But it's, let's get real. It's a pig, it's a cow. You know, unhumanely killed. In atrocious conditions, even if they're in good conditions, so-called grass-fed. It's like, what? I mean, it's just madness. Anyway, why? Because we have these emotional associations with the tastes, we have the emotional associations with the visuals. So I do it for that reason. Yeah, it's a bit complex, but from a raw food or a fruitarian or a mono, they can be complex. Do I eat like that all the time? No. My main meal is a little bit more complex than my mono through the day. However, if it shifts, even if it was one, but it shifts people over, realizing they can still have that, that emotional attachment without compromising and poisoning themselves. But let's put that aside, without being part of genocide, murder, all these atrocities. So I would say I'd give myself a pat on the back if many shifted over for that reason, So that's one main reason. Let's say the other. What would I have wanted when I was a child? I wouldn't want all that nonsense shoved in my body, the milk, which is for the cows. It's not for us, even the raw milk. What are you doing, guys? It's for the cows, and then the, eggs, it's a reproductive waste. Really, it's a reproductive waste. What are you doing? And that's the flesh, so it's the emotional sensation, being cooked, it lets off another chemical. So you really got to kind of man up, woman up, and just work with, let's just say, our addictions, and cravings, and then go deeper and see why we're craving that and what we are feeding and what we're acquiescing to all the nonsense of, the wars and the rape, murders. Look at what you're putting in your mouth. You're part of it. So, that's a big part of why I do this. And some people say, well, Pete, you're going to jeopardize your Facebook page or your Instagram page or your retreats. It's like, well, inshallah, what's more important? It's like, our sentient beings, the other beings being tortured and etc. So then people can, if I lose them people, then, happy losing, truly happy losing. So what's the other thing? Yeah, I would not have wanted all that nonsense going into my mouth when I was young. I would have liked my mother and father to be more aware. And then I can recognize, wow, did I have so much nonsense in my early childhood? Which that aided that. And I see that with many other parents and their children, so-called all these different labels that, people like to stick on you just because ultimately, there's been shock, trauma, stagnation has happened, creating, parasites, illnesses, etc. with all these labels. That's the core essence of it all. So, what can I say after that? Yeah, so that's what I would have liked if I was a child. Of course, a lot of love, a lot of nurture, a lot of kindness. So there's a fundamental thing to do with this topic here, why I do it, the meat, the dairy. And, vegetarians, great, you came off meat, but, that's 70% of the world come off the dairy. I would actually 30% come off the dairy, which is probably 70%. I was shocked when I realized again, atrocities in the dairy. It's in everything. Oh my word. So even if it's people eating more complex plant-based, raw vegan food, at least they've saved the animals, saved many, many, many animals. There goes the dog anyway. So I would have liked to been kept off that, and then come of age, have the choice. However, instinctively I would have known by birth, Wilbur's knows by birth, it's just wrong. What are you doing? Anyway, and for the people, to work out by consuming such, we are actually aiding and abetting these atrocities. So even if just a few may get it and they pass it down to their children, pass it down to their family and friends, I'm going to come closer. Yeah, they pass it down to their family and friends, and then generations after generations pass it down to them. So how beautiful. We don't realise, that we're electric bodies, electric systems, and there's an electric field which we contaminate and put in trauma, shock in our body, and then we're in flight or fight all the time. We don't even know. We become the perpetrator as well, of the above, all cleverly by design, blah, blah, blah. Then we would clearly see, hence, from an unclogged eye open, one eye vision, then it becomes very obvious. Hence the clogging down of that, the shock, the trauma, calcification, etc. Anyway, nervous system shot to pieces, big topic, food, from the food, and then our field shot to pieces, always in fight or flight, energy field, physical body, and then comes our fate. What you put in your body, what lives in your body becomes your reality, your fate, And from the shock, trauma happening, it seems to be everywhere. Like we come into a battlefield, of death and decay. So, death and decay, how much life, if we really look at like the living field, are we coming to? If we did a chart like alkaline and acidic, living field, dead field, we would find we were more 90% in the dead field. Come on, let's bring some life into our fields, get a good team to bring us back to life, so we can kick out the old team, the old paradigm, the old death and decay, which has been kind of taught to be glamorized and normalized. Stagnation, parasites, infestation, illness is happening everywhere. And that's become normalized. Oh my word. It's really, truly upside down. So anyway, this will probably come out. All the best to you guys. So, Mum, Dad, come on. Don't feed your young ones and madness, nonsense. They're just, you're signing them over. You're just, anyway, signing them over to kind of not a very nice system of illness after illness, pharmaceutical, and more problematic life. Anyway, big love.